back to the road trippers, kingdom builders, Akeem and Akateem, brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers, aunties and uncles, grandmas, grandpas, everybody in the house. Shalom, shalom, peace and blessings to everybody, man. Your homes, your dwelling places. And that's right. I'm excited today, man. Yes, all right. Shalom, man. Them children and them pets. All praises to the Most High, Abba Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Glory to Yahweh Shai. Honors to the Ruach. My love and my respect to you. And we're back here in the Jewish Antiquities. About to read the Preface. We sure are. I'm going to read the Preface in Book 1 this evening. All right. The Preface is going to get us started with the Jewish Antiquities. Quote, air quotes, Jewish, right? The Yahudim Antiquities. And then Book 1 is going to take us right into containing the interval of 3,833 years from the creation to the death of Isaac, right? Chapter 1, the constitution of the world and the disposition of the elements, okay? And that's what we're going to do. All right? It's good to see y'all. Hope you had a good weekend. We're back here on Monday, ready to start this week strong and ready to start this week focused. All right? So we're going to go ahead and read this up here. And depending on how this goes, well, I don't know. We might even look at chapter 2. Who knows? But we'll go ahead and start here. All right, we're going to get on this preface. No further ado. If you have the scrolls, read along with me. If not, then just sit back and relax. I'll go ahead and take care of this for you. If you're new here, my name is Ahran, and this is the road trip. I hope you enjoy. All right, but it's not about enjoying. It's about edifying. All right, and about getting these scriptures, about getting these scrolls. All right, this is going to be the preface. No further ado. Ladies and gentlemen, all right, let's begin. The preface, and it reads, these are broken into chapters. Chapter 1, and it reads, those who undertake to write histories do not, I perceive, all take the trouble for the same reasons. There are many reasons, and there are very different one from another. For some of them apply themselves to this part of learning to show their skill in composition, and that they may therein acquire a reputation for speaking finely. Others of them there are who write histories in order to gratify those that happen to be concerned in them, and on the account have spared no pains, but rather gone beyond their own abilities in the performance. But others there are who of necessity and by force are driven to write history because they are concerned in the facts, and so cannot excuse themselves from committing them to writing for the advantage of posterity. There are not a few who are induced to draw their historical facts out of darkness into light and to produce them for a benefit of the public on account of the great importance of the fact themselves, with which they have been concerned. Now, of these several reasons for writing history, I must profess the two last were my own reasons also, for since I was myself interested in that war which we Yahudim had with the Romans, and knew myself as particular actions and what conclusion it had, I was forced to give the history of it because I saw that others perverted the truth of those actions in their writings. That's the end of chapter 1. All right, cool. Chapter 2, and it reads, now I have undertaken the present work as thinking it will appear to all the Greeks, worthy of their study, for it will contain all our Antiquities, and the constitution of our government as interpreted out of the Hebrew scriptures. And indeed, I did formally intend, when I wrote of the war, to explain who the Yahudim originally were, that fortunes they had been subject to, and by what legislature they had been instructed in piety and the exercise of our other virtues. What wars also they had made in remote ages, until they were unwillingly engaged in the last with the Romans. But because this work would take up a great compass, I separated it into a set treatise by itself, with a beginning of its own and its own conclusion. But in process of time, as usually happens to such as undertake great things, I grew weary and went on slowly, it being a large subject and a difficult thing to translate our history into a foreign and to so unaccustomed language. However, some persons there were who desired to know our history, and so exhorted me to go on with it. And above all the rest, Epaphroditus, a man who is a lover of all kind of learning, but is mainly delighted with the knowledge of history, and this on account of his having been himself concerned in great affairs, and many turns of fortune, and having shown a wonderful rigor of an excellent nature, and an immovable virtuous resolution in them all. I yielded to this man's persuasions, who always excite such as have abilities in what is useful and acceptable to join their endeavors with his. I was also ashamed myself to permit any laziness of disposition to have a greater influence upon me, that the delight of taking pains in such studies as were very useful, I thereupon stirred myself up and went on with my work more cheerfully. Besides the foregoing motives, I had others. Before those I had others, right? I had others, which I greatly reflected on, and these were that our forefathers were willing to communicate such things to others, and that some of the Greeks took considerable pains to know the affairs of our nation. I found therefore that the second of the Ptolemies, was a king who was extraordinarily diligent in what concerned learning and the collection of books, that he was also peculiarly ambitious to procure a translation of our law and of the constitution of our government therein contained into the Greek tongue. Now Eleazar the high priest, one not inferior to any other that of that dignity among us, did not envy the forenamed king the participation of that advantage, which otherwise he would for certain have denied him, but that he knew the custom of our nation was to hinder nothing of what was esteemed ourselves from being communicated to others. Accordingly, I thought it became me both to imitate the generosity of our high priest, and to suppose there might even now be many lovers of learning like the king, for he did not obtain all our writings at the time, but those who were sent to Alexandria as interpreters gave him only the books of the law, while there were a vast number of other matters in our sacred books. They indeed contain in them the history of 5,000 years, in which time happened many strange incidents, many chances of war, and great actions of our commanders, and munitions, right, and mutations of the form of our government. Upon the whole, a man that will pursue the history may mainly learn from it that all events succeed well, even to the incredible degree, and the reward of felicity is proposed by Yahweh. And then it is to those that follow his will, and to not venture to break his excellent laws, and that so far as men any way apostatize from the accurate observation of them, what was practicable before becomes impracticable, and whatever they set about as a good thing is converted into an incurable calamity. And now I exhort all those that pursue these books and to apply their minds to Yahweh, and to examine the mind of our lawgiver, whether he has not understood his nature in a matter worthy of him, and has not ever ascribed to him such operations as become his power, and has not preserved his writings from those indecent fables which others have framed. Salake. Although by the great distance of time when he lived, he might have securely forged such lies. For he lived 2,000 years ago, at which vast distance of ages the poets themselves have not been so hardy as to fix even the generations of their gods, much less the actions of their men or their own laws. As I proceed, therefore, I shall accurately describe what is contained in our records in the order of time that belongs to them, for I have already promised so to do throughout this undertaking, and this without adding anything to what is therein contained, or taking away anything therefrom. That's the end of chapter 3. All right, cool. Sorry, chapter 2 was kind of bundled up in there with 3, my bad. But anyway, chapter 4, and it reads, "But because almost all of our constitution depends on the wisdom of Moshe, our lawgiver, I cannot avoid saying something concerning him beforehand, though I shall do it briefly. I mean, because otherwise those that read my book may wonder how it comes to pass that my discourse, which promises an account of laws and historical facts, contains so much of philosophy. The reader is therefore to know that Moshe deemed it exceeding necessary that he who would conduct his own life well and give laws to others in the first place should consider the divine nature, and upon the contemplation of Yahweh's operations should thereby imitate the best of all patterns." Right? So far as it is possible for human nature to do, and to try to follow after it. Neither could the lawgiver himself have a right mind without such a contemplation, nor would anything he should write tend to the promotion of virtue in his readers. I mean, unless they be taught first of all that Yahweh is the Father and Elohim of all things, and sees all things, and that from there he bestows a happy life upon those that follow him, but plunges such as do not walk in the paths of virtue into inevitable miseries. Now when Moshe was desirous to teach this lesson to his countrymen, he did not begin the establishment of the laws after the same manner that other legislators did. I mean, upon contracts and other rights between one man and another, but by raising their minds upward to regard Yahweh and his creation of the world, and by pursuing them, that we, men, are the most excellent of the creatures of Yahweh upon the earth. Now when once he had brought them to submit to religion, he easily persuaded them to submit in all other things. For as to other legislators, they followed fables, and by their discourses transferred the most reproachful of human vices unto the gods, and afford wicked men the most plausible excuses for their crimes. But as for our lawgiver, when he had once demonstrated that Yahweh was possessed of perfect virtue, he possessed that men also ought to strive after the participation of it. And on those who did not so think and so believe, he inflicted the severest punishments. I exhort therefore my readers to examine this whole undertaking in the view, for thereby it will appear to them that there is nothing therein disagreeable either to the majesty of Yahweh or to his love to mankind. For all things have here a reference to the nature of the universe, while our lawgiver speaks some things wisely but enigmatically, and others under the descent allegory, but still explains such things as required a direct explanation plainly and expressively. However, those that have a mind to know the reasons of everything may find here a very curious philosophical theory, which I now indeed shall waive the explanation of. But if Yahweh afford me time for it, I will set about writing it, after I have finished the present work. I shall now betake myself to the history before me, after I have first mentioned what Moshe says of the creation of the world, which I find described in the sacred books after the manner following. That's the end of chapter 4. All right, hallelujah. All right, that's the end of the preface of the Antiquities of the Yahudim, or air quotes, Jewish Antiquities. And then we're going to go into some of the things that read about it real quick. Number 1 reads, "This preface of Josephus is excellent in its kind and highly worthy the repeated perusal of the reader before he set about the perusal of the work itself, that is, all the Gentiles, both Greek and Romans. We may seasonably note here that Josephus wrote his 7 books of the Jewish war long before he wrote these his Antiquities. Those books of the Jewish War were published about 75 AD, and these Antiquities about 93 AD, about 18 years later. This Epaphroditus was certainly alive in the third year of Trajan, 100 AD. Right. See the note on the first book against Apion, section 1. Who he was, we do not know. For as to Epaphroditus, the freedman of Nero, and afterwards Domitian's secretary, who was put to death by Domitian in the 14th or 15th year of his reign, he could not be alive in the third year of Trajan. Josephus here plainly alludes to the famous Greek proverb, if Yahweh be with us, everything that is impossible becomes possible. As to the intended work of Josephus concerning the reasons of many of the Jewish laws and what philosophical or allegorical sense they would bear, the loss of which work is by some of the learned not much regretted, I am inclinable in part to Fabricius's opinion. Haverkamp, pages 61 and 63, that we need not doubt but that among some vain and frigid conjectures derived from Jewish imaginations, Josephus would have taught us a greater number of excellent and useful things, which perhaps nobody neither among the Yahudim nor among the Christians can now inform us of, so that I would give a great deal to find it still extant. That's the end of that little intro right there. And okay, next time we read, we're going to read Book 1, containing the interval of 3,833 years from the creation of the death of Isaac. It's going to be Chapter 1, the constitution of the world and the disposition of the elements, okay? All right, hallelujah. I'll see you soon. But on the way out, we got to say all praise to the Most High. Yeah, we got to say thanks for riding along with me, right? Kingdom Builders, Road Trippers, Akeem and Akatim, brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers, everybody in the house. I love having y'all. Thanks for being here on the road trip. Thanks for this little journey. And we're going to jump right back into the Antiquities, the Jewish Antiquities, or the Antiquities of the Yahudim, the Yahudis, right? Yeah, the Yahudim. All right, we're going to be in Book 1, Chapter 1 on the next one. All right, and I don't know how we're going to do these by chapters. Yeah, it's going to look very familiar. All right, we're going to chapter these ones out. All right, y'all be safe out there as you drive up and down the roads, going to and from work and home. All right, please be safe as you travel with them children. All right, and you already know the drill. As always, it's all praise to the Most High. And I'll see you all very soon. Very, very soon. I love you. Yeah.